Welcome to the deep dive. For anyone who's ever read William Gibson or seen Blade Runner, there's this one phrase that just perfectly captures a vision of the future.
High-tech, low-life.
Exactly. High-tech, low-life.
Hmm.
We're talking about glittering AI-driven skyscrapers, pervasive connectivity, but all of it existing right alongside, just crushing poverty and, well, relentless corporate control.
And our mission for this deep dive is to stop treating that as, just fiction.
Right.
We've pulled together a stack of sources that suggest the convergence of AI, robotics, politics, and, frankly, runaway capitalism makes a cyberpunk-like future not just possible, but highly plausible.
So we need to look at the tech innovation and the dystopian social trends together.
They're two sides of the same coin. You can't separate them.
Okay, so let's start with the power shift that's already happened. The foundation for these cyberpunk megacore, it feels like it's already built. This first piece of data we found is the perfect kind of shocking hook.
It really is. We talk about the rise of big tech all the time, but the scale of their wealth is now, it's sovereign.
Sovereign.
Yeah. Recent reports noted that the 7 largest U.S. tech firms, they're calling them the Magnificent Seven, they hit a combined market capitalization of $20.8 trillion in 2025.
20.8 trillion. That's a number that's almost hard to grasp.
It is, because it exceeds the entire gross domestic product of the European Union.
The entire EU.
Yeah.
So if that single entity, all that capital, decides to push for one outcome, who could possibly stand in its way?
And that's the crucial insight. When corporate wealth rivals the economic output of whole continents, they aren't just market players anymore.
They're becoming something new.
They're new sovereigns, they wield political power through regulatory capture, they control global infrastructure, and maybe most importantly, they engage in mass behavioral conditioning through the platforms that, we all use every single day.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What are the structural forces that actually built the engine for this convergence? We hear about an arms race, but what is it an arms race for?
It's an arms race for control. Pure and simple. Fueled by profit and geopolitical dominance.
But you can't have this high-tech, low-life world without the infrastructure to monitor everything, right?
Exactly. And that was established through a very specific economic model.
You're talking about surveillance capitalism.
I am. When Shoshana Zuboff coined that term, she was describing how tech firms, Google, Facebook, and so en masse, capture our personal data to create prediction products.
They predict and then try to shape our behavior.
Precisely. And this structure was established with almost no regulation back in the early 2000s. It turned human experience into a free source of raw material for them.
But couldn't governments have just built their own surveillance networks? Or was the corporate data just too good to pass up?
It was the latter. The corporate data mine was just exponentially richer than anything a government could build alone. So after 9/11, state security interests basically dived into partnership with big tech to achieve what they called total information awareness.
The synergy was perfect for them.
It was. Corporate profits drove the mass collection, and government security interests provided the legal cover. The tools of personalized advertising quickly became the foundation for dystopian systems of control.
That sets a pretty grim stage. Let's pivot to the dazzling part of the equation, the high tech that makes all this possible. And we have to start with AI.
The AI revolution is fundamental. This isn't just incremental change. Generative AI models like GPT-4 or Gemini, they're not novelties anymore.
Right. They're producing human-like text, images, code.
They're becoming essential tools in almost every industry. And economically, the forecasts are just immense. AI is expected to add something like $15.7 trillion to the global economy by 2030.
And this is not just about economic advantage, it's a geopolitical struggle.
Oh, absolutely. It's seen as a zero-sum game. Nations are viewing AI as the decisive strategic resource of this century. China, for instance.
And they're backing that up with serious money.
Over $110 billion in dedicated investment since 2015. But this is where the high-tech meets the low-life. As these systems get better, they raise the immediate specter of mass labor displacement.
I remember Elon Musk suggesting that AI-driven robotics could make human work optional within a few decades, which, sounds great if you own the robots.
Catastrophe for everyone else. It sets the stage for a radical restructuring of society, and robotics is moving just as fast.
How fast?
As of 2024, there are over 4.6 million industrial robots operating globally. That's a 100% jump in just 10 years.
Wow. And it's not just the assembly line arms we picture, is it?
No, the future is versatile humanoid robots like Tesla's Optimus.
Yeah.
They're designed for general purpose use. Think warehouses, logistics, even an elder care facility.
So the push to automate is partly about cutting costs, but it's also meeting real demographic needs, like aging populations in Japan or Germany, where there are labor shortages.
Precisely. The need is real, but the consequence for the global working class could be mass economic marginalization. The owners of the machines consolidate wealth, while a displaced majority risks becoming a permanent underclass.
And then there's the most, I guess, evocative element of the cyberpunk world, human augmentation, the merging of man and machine.
This is where we really step into science fiction becoming reality. We already have things like CRISPR gene editing being used in clinical trials. But the true cybernetic future is in brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs.
We saw Neuralink get FDA approval for human trials for its brain chips back in 2023. What is a BCI actually doing?
In simple terms, it reads the electrical signals from your motor cortex, the part of the brain that handles your intent to move, and it translates those signals into commands for an external device.
And we've seen some incredible medical uses already.
Profound uses. Paralyzed individuals controlling a computer cursor just by thinking, or a patient walking again using a wireless brain-spine interface. It's amazing.
These are undeniable marvels.
Okay.
But when we start talking about elective BCIs, how quickly does that turn from a medical tool into the ultimate form of inequality?
That's the core cyberpunk warning, isn't it? These technologies, chips to boost memory, genetic therapies to slow aging, they will inevitably be available at a high price,
So the wealthy can purchase cognitive and physical advantages.
creating a literal biological caste system. I mean, if your colleagues are using DCIs to process information faster and you can't afford that upgrade, you are permanently biologically left behind.
Which brings us squarely to the low-life part of the equation, the social decay enabled by all this tech. Let's start with the end of privacy, mass surveillance.
The scale is almost incomprehensible. China is the prime example of state control. They are projected to have over 626 million CCTV cameras by 2020.
600 million.
In a city like Chongqing, it was about 1 camera for every 6 residents. And this system feeds platforms like Sharp Eyes and supports their social credit system.
And in the West, we might not have a single unified social credit score, but the public-private surveillance blend is just as pervasive.
Absolutely. Take Clearview AI. They scraped 30 billion images from social media. That action basically put every one of us in a perpetual police lineup by 2023. U.S. police have run nearly 1 million searches on it.
So whether it's state-driven or corporate-driven, the end result is the same. It's functionally impossible to be anonymous.
Or even to protest undetected. Russian authorities use Moscow street cameras to identify and arrest hundreds of protesters, sometimes preemptively.
And this level of control, it seems most effective when the population is already struggling with extreme inequality. What's the latest data on wealth?
The divergence is exponential. The richest 1% of the world captured almost 2/3 of all new wealth generated since 2020, nearly twice as much as the bottom 99% combined. Oxfam is now forecasting we'll see our first trillionaires within a decade.
And the crucial part of the cyberpunk parallel is that this wealth isn't always from merit or innovation.
Not at all. The sources show that 60% of billionaire wealth comes from inheritance, monopolies, or political connections, not from building a better mousetrap. This is what creates the new aristocracy, the ruling class of the oligarchy. They buy political influence to keep their monopolies.
And this is all happening while secure middle-class jobs are being replaced by the precarious algorithm-managed gig economy.
It's a perfect feedback loop. Technology concentrates income for the owners, while it fragments labor into disposable parts. You can see it in any major tech hub, ultra-wealthy districts right next to massive permanent homeless encampments. The high tech is actively creating the low life.
And the final piece of the dystopian puzzle is the backdrop, environmental degradation.
We are seeing the accelerating climate reality that fuels social turmoil. There's a 70% chance that the 5-year average between 2025 and 2029 will exceed that critical 1.5 degree Celsius warming threshold.
What does that mean in terms of human displacement?
The World Bank projects over 200 million people could be internally displaced by 2050 due to climate impacts.
200 million.
And that leads directly to sprawling climate refugee camps, authoritarian rationing, and corporate entities scrambling to secure resources, water, land, often with their own private security forces. That is a direct cyberpunk parallel.
So this is a global trend, but it looks different in different places. Let's touch on some of the regional manifestations, starting with the United States.
The U.S. is the crucible of high-tech amidst extreme inequality. It's home to the Magnificent Seven. It has extensive decentralized surveillance, maybe 85 million cameras.
But the core dynamic is the risk of oligarchy.
Exactly. Corporate money buying political outcomes, and that stark contrast between the tech elite and a marginalized underclass defining cities.
Then there's China, which often feels like it's already the most cyberpunk state.
China represents technocratic authoritarianism. The state is the primary driver, using the data mining power of its corporations, Tencent, Alibaba, to achieve social control. It's hundreds of millions of cameras, social credit pilots, prosperity coexisting directly with pervasive, enforced control.
India is a different story, a clash between democracy and massive scale.
It's digital ambition versus societal fragmentation. You have Aadhaar, the world's largest biometric ID system, which offers inclusion but also massive privacy risks.
And despite being a democracy, it leads the world in internet shutdowns.
84 of them in 2022 alone. It's a tool of control. And you see the visual contrast in Mumbai, a 27-story private residence for one family towering over vast slums.
And finally, the Middle East, where immense wealth is building these hypermodern cities.
The Gulf states are building the physical environment of tomorrow. Think NEOM in Saudi Arabia or Dubai's AI governance. But this futuristic infrastructure is built under absolute authoritarian control.
Technology is a tool of repression.
Primarily. We see Pegasus spyware used against journalists, AI-equipped cameras in Iran enforcing social codes. The gleam of high-tech is inseparable from the gloom of absolute control.
This deep dive has definitely laid out how plausible that duality is. Dazzling progress, like AI curing diseases, right alongside dystopian realities like total tracking and plutocracy.
But it's crucial to remember that this convergence, as powerful as it seems, is not inevitable. It's not predetermined. We have to acknowledge the countercurrents.
Okay, so what are the most significant countercurrents we should be watching?
Well, first, there are ethical AI movements and real policy pushback. The EU's GDPR is a huge example.
The General Data Protection Regulation.
Right. It established a legal right to your own data, forcing global tech firms to recognize individual sovereignty over information rather than just treating it as a corporate resource.
And the other big one?
The growing, serious debates over universal basic income, or UBI. This is a political attempt to get ahead of mass automation before it completely shreds the social safety net.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener, trying to navigate this future?
I think the central struggle will be asserting fundamental human values. Freedom, dignity, equality, against these incredibly powerful forces of technological determinism.
It's a world where an iris scan or a DNA check replaces your papers.
Exactly. But here's the final provocative thought to leave you with. What if the ultimate step isn't just external surveillance, but internal? What if reality itself becomes curated, individually, for each person, fed to them through neural implants and personalized data streams? The challenge then becomes what truly defines humanity in a world that is hyper-augmented, surveilled, and unequal.